I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. Today is another day moving forward and manifesting a new reality that is all about abundance and removing the cabal, and we're winning left and right. You know, there's so many things that are going on. I also have a guest here that we'll be talking with here about manifesting. But first, before we get into any of that, let me just say that the the steps that are being made right now by Trump, we can see is the beginning of where we're starting to bring all the people to justice. You know, 30 plus people, I said yesterday, were given subpoenas to appear under oath before the Senate. That's all of the top people in all these agencies. All have to answer the questions about Obamagate. So this is a major step forward, right? We also have, on the other side of things, we have, say, the mayor of D.C. saying, well, we want to, get rid of all of the National Guards that are staying in the hotels in the areas around D.C. For what reason? Unbelievable. 1,200 National Guardsmen are asked to be removed. She wrote a letter to the New Jersey governor about this, and amazing, right? So what is exactly, what someone wants to do with removing protection, from the city? It's as though they want the rioting to move forward, and they do. So, but this is showing the contrast, right? We're watching reality manifest in front of our eyes. It is a battle between good and evil, and we are now seeing that everyone that has been kind of asleep is awakening. This is the Great Awakening. Now, are we going to see, all these arrests happening? Is it going to take, how long does it take for you to go through hearings in the Senate? Will this be before the election, after the election? Are we going to see some big names come out? Are we going to say George Soros being indicted? Are we going to see, others of these, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Page, Strzok, Rod Rosenstein, who doesn't accept any responsibility? Oh, I'm responsible, just not responsible. All his half answers he was given. So it's amazing to see this all happening. So we're going to have a little bit of a different diversion than what we've been discussing because of my guest for today. What happened was I had conducted a Grains.bid auction, for the gold grain coin last night. And one of the winners, who won 30 gold grain coins at about 50% off the retail value, he had done a payment for paying for the auction, and it is still left in pending status. So we were calling to figure out what's going on with that. So a little bit of bugs maybe left in the system to work out, but that's okay. We get it handled manually. But in talking with him, we started talking about synchronicities. Right? We started talking about reality and things like that. I said, well, maybe this is a good time. Let's go with the flow. And let's talk about this on the broadcast today. So, Lazaro,
how you doing?
Good to see you. I see you're floating above the planet. I'm down here in the meadow with a beautiful sky.
Oh, okay.
In our backgrounds.
Yeah, we were talking about something very good. Maybe something that people really don't realize, and yet they still live that life. They live that life of synchronicity unawares.
Yeah. So yeah, when we were talking, I was saying, I used to live a life of when I was a young entrepreneur in my early 20s, electrical engineer, electronic engineer, uh, building, you know, companies for computers, software, hardware, things like that. So my life was very regimented, right? Very much a minute by minute schedule, and was quite successful and built a business and got to see how that side was. But I did a conversion, right? I kind of switched gears at some point along the way, and I went and started going to manifest the reality in a different way, which was more about going with the flow, or or basically following the synchronicities to allow them to happen without trying to make them happen. See, and I was making the point that on these two paths, I still end up at the same point down the river, right? If on the flow of time as things go down, one, I'm focused on the boat, right?
Yeah.
I'm making sure that the motor's running at this RPM and the rudder is going like this, and I've got the sails put this way, and the different control systems are all in place and operating, and giving the orders to the different people on deck, all hands on deck, and we're going this way. So I'm focused on the boat and where I'm trying to get to, right? The other way is I know where I'm trying to get to, but it just floats there. And I say both systems work.
Yeah, there's a tendency in life of synchronicity. One of the things that I've learned sometimes the hard way is you can't really push something into play. If you push too hard, then you're gonna get an outcome that's probably not beneficial for you. Which many of us have done that in life, where we decide things beforehand and we plan them to happen, and yet there might be another option that'll be better for you if you would have allowed yourself to let synchronicity play its part, which is very beautiful. When you allow synchronicity in life, it gives you the option of going down, like you were saying, like you're going down a river. One version is you're controlling the boat, and the other version is you're letting the boat go where it needs to go, and you're watching the trees and the sun, and the water and the fishes.
Yeah, smelling the roses.
You're smelling the trees and the flowers. So there is several journeys that you can take. You can take the journey where in life is like a suffering one, or you can take a journey that's more leisurely, enjoyable. And surprisingly enough, a lot of us choose to go the suffering route.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, that happened. I get, but I used to study some things like the mechanical universe, right? The idea that everything is kind of like built like a giant, machine, right? All these gears turning, right? And as this gear turns, it gets a certain thread, a cog, and or notch, whatever, and they lock together and they move, and the next thing goes, and the next thing goes. So there's that, mechanical or the controlled
did you
system.
watch that new movie a movie that came out, The Machine? Oh my goodness! Everything was like gears and mechanical things.
No,
and it was big. They had these whole cities on a moving machine, and it was all with gears and stuff. That's the epiphany.
Well, I used to think about that this type of system, right? Because being very much an engineer minded a lot of times, and so engineering something, and then I think the mechanical universe, how that works, but then being able to experience the synchronicity or allow things to unfold method is really about still setting your intention, the goal, the direction you want to go, right? And how you get
Uh-huh.
there. But I can tell you, I very much enjoyed my early life of being very regimented in it. I had fun along the way. I really did. So I think you can enjoy either path, actually. I think that there is, you know, just something to, uh, you know, the both paths. Like some people love their boats, right? They want to take care of their
Oh
boats, and
yeah,
they have a
yeah.
lot of
There's
feeling and they put into it, right? They enjoy that, and so I get that, right? So but both paths you get to go the same ones, but the important is setting the intention and where you want to head,
yeah,
right? And try not to get into the negativity either direction, right?
yeah.
So
That's the suffering part. Yeah.
yeah, that's where the suffering
We're-
is. That's exactly it. The suffering comes in from
we
the
need to be
negativity.
positive in doing our aspect. And I know what you're saying because there is like a persona you can put before you, like you can actually say you're going to enjoy something and you do it versus you're just doing it just to get it done with.
Yeah.
So there is a part of you inside which I think we need to focus is do things because you enjoy doing it. Because if you do things because you're just trying to, it's a next thing to do. Because you can get very mechanical, but you can still be mechanical and enjoy the next step.
Yeah.
But or you can be mechanical and just waiting to get the next thing done. Let's get this over with.
So I think when one of the main foundational things that I've come to understand is when I was doing my transition between the very regimented uh, you know approach to the more go with the flow approach. I had to analyze the differences between like love and fear, right? Loving your path, loving what you're doing,
Oh.
moving down that line, and not allowing fear to creep in. And I'm not talking about hatred as the opposite of love, but fear being the opposite or as the opposing force. Because the fear, I think it's all about fear of not having love. Is what it is. You don't.
Yeah, yeah, that fear of rejection. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Where you have people, you're confronted with the element of different people and situations, and you want to do something that people accept you. But in reality, if you be yourself, and if you live in your heart and you be yourself, you're gonna come across as a loving person. So the fear doesn't necessarily need to be the part of it. And we have to realize, like you're saying, is let that fear just blend out and let love. Because when you got a question, if you really just stand still and put love in your heart, I'm telling you, you're gonna have the solution. The next step will pop in.
Yeah.
So it is so easy.
Because it's not. It's you don't have to do it. The universe, you know, is going to unfold in that direction because that's where your intention is towards the positive, right? So it just unfolds, right? It's a river you're going down. If you want to go take that detour through the turbulent water and bounce off of boats, I mean off of other boats or off of rocks that are in the river, you
Think
could go
of
down
it
that
like
path.
little tile stepstones that you're gonna step the next step. It's not there, but when you put your foot down, it appears. That's
Yeah,
synchronicity.
that's
You're
synchronicity.
walking and there's no stone, but you got the faith, which is important. Faith
Yeah,
that stone is gonna appear. You believe it.
yeah. That's
Belief is an important thing, and it's so powerful.
that
It
means you
just
could walk
makes it
on
happen.
water, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know what happened when we'll go dip into the scripture when you know the Messiah was over there and he told Peter, "Come over to me," and he goes, he starts walking over there. Hey, I'm doing. Oh wow, I'm on top of the water. And all of a sudden he says, "Wait a minute," and then boop, he fell in the water because he didn't project by faith the next steps.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Many of our projects are like that. We go to a certain point, and this is why with the Grains.bid site,
Mhm.
and when I started it, and I told Dan, look, Dan, I'm going to help you with this, and a lot of people should be working with it because this is not this is so that when you're bidding, you get to know the different people and that you join together. You see, we need to come together, and then synchronicity happens. Things happen because you're bidding and someone else is bidding. So when you arrive to that conclusion, who won, then everyone discusses it. So there's a lot of things that go on in this bidding.
Well, yeah, it's well,
I,
we're doing it, so we're doing it live on Zoom, right? It's on a website, but we're all tuned in, and so we get to hear each other back and forth and talk, and then there's the excitement part of it as well. I didn't mean for this to become like a commercial for
no,
Grains.bid,
no, no.
but
But I'm giving that example because I do believe that there's we need to go be involved in like I was telling you in everything you do,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, we take
If you
we start walking together, right, in one direction, and then that's how the manifesting of reality happens. That stone appears underneath your foot, right, and then the next stone and the next stone. The synchronicities line up. So that's it. That's about coming together, making the reality happen. So as the engineering side of me, right, took time to design and create, a framework, right, of a coin that would follow gold, right? That in what's behind that and how to fit that in with the reality of the world, right? So to engineer that. And then what are the steps to get it accepted, right? And so I had to like say, well, we need this piece and we need this piece and we this. So this is the engineering part. I enjoy this, right? So this is, but the go with the flow part, right, is when you're living the parts and moving things out and presenting it to the other people, and when other people join in, that's where the power lies, right? This is where the reality just starts firming up in that direction. So,
yes, it's like it's not about the grain. It's not about the
no,
gold.
no, that's
Don't
true.
ever think that. This is not what we're. This is not. This site right now, Frontline, it's not about me, Dan, or Tank. You know it's not about it. Or even Kim. She refuses to get any acknowledgement. Or any of the people that we work with. Or any of the people that join us here. It's about the whole thing where we all come together because when we see each other doing things and accept each other as what they do, that's the whole purpose of this little exercise with the grain. Everyone goes in there and does their little part. If we learn to exercise that in everything we do, there'll be someone doing their little part here, someone doing their little part there, and everybody will join together. Because there are many people that are just sitting down, not doing anything. So we have to allow, when synchronicity comes, we can't let it go by. It's like a train. You know, sometimes we see synchronicity go by and we wave at it. Hey, see you later. And
Exactly.
then we sit and then we go, next train comes by, hey, see you later. So then twice it came by trying to give you an opportunity and we never jumped up the opportunity. So my thing always to say people is don't miss the opportunity.
Right. No, this is everything in life, right? You need to take your steps. Where you can sit back and just float down the river. That's true, right? But sometimes you can be on the side of the river, right? And you don't want to make a
Yeah.
move in any direction, right? That's a different story, right?
You're
So
fearful.
you're
Wow, that
fearful.
river's going too fast.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not
That's the
gonna go
fear.
on there. You
So
know.
whenever let's say I had,
Yeah.
when I was very young, I was thinking opposite of love was hate, right? And I was going in that, and I said that later when I kind of really got into some of this, and I was doing a lot of yoga, right? For 7 years I did yoga. For about 3 of those years, it was every day I did yoga. So I took it very seriously, and what I learned from that more than anything, right? And hatha yoga was what was it? I did this in Santa Monica. It's the epicenter for yoga in California. I think came from there. But um, uh, what I learned was that when I move, when I make those positions, right, and I move with my breath, right, and I keep moving with breath. Every action was with breath. Every action was with breath. Anything that I did, any movement. So when I was doing that in a practice, like for hour and a half, 2 hours a day, moving with breath, that means the synchronicity of how I breathe, how I breathe,
Breathe. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
was
Yeah.
in the motion of my movement, right? And when I carried that into the rest of the day, and I moved and changed my direction, and that I did it in breath, the synchronicities would line up faster. So the goal of getting from this point to the next point to the next point would come faster and faster until it was just a string of synchronicities. When you're in a stream of oncoming synchronicities coming through, right? You're moving very fast through reality. That's when, because time is a variable at that point, right? Your time is. I think one of the things people, when I was an engineer, well, when I am an engineer, when I was young engineer, going through college, I said time is a constant. Right? Time is
Oh
a
yeah, we
constant.
were told that.
Yeah, and later I realized that time is a variable, right? It actually changes, right? Just like through Einstein's theory of relativity, right? There's a difference of perspective that's in the quantum mechanics and the rest of that. So when you start seeing that time can be both a constant and a variable at the same time, and it is, then you bring in the principle of indeterminacy from quantum mechanics, and that means it's not determined until it needed to be, and that's what the time was at the moment because it's what it was. So
Synchronicity.
it's the synchronicity of how things line up. And so you need to be focused in your direction and do it without fear.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an important thing to remember. Unless you're in the heat of the battle, of the moment, you're never going to see synchronicity. It's never going to happen. You have to be involved, and this is what Tank and you Dan have been always saying. You have to get involved with any little bit. I mean, even going on, let's say, the parlay site, the site where you have now, you're uploading it, or BitChute, make a comment, look at it. Other people will see the comment. Now you become part of the mechanism. So we need to, and then what happens is synchronicity can interject in your life, because the only way our higher being can communicate with us, which we haven't talked about yet, is the forces that are not here, that's part of us. It's looking at us. So it has to send a message in a form that we can understand. You see, because we're here in a reality which manifests everything. So in order for us to manifest, we're definitely guided. There's definitely something guiding us, in our synchronicity path. It's not happenstance, which is what I call
Yeah.
it. It's a particular word hardly ever used. Happenstance. Nothing is happenstance. It doesn't just happen for no reason at all.
Right.
So there's
And
usually
even the diversion, right? That where there is say groups of people, the cabal, shadow government, the deep state,
yes,
that
yes.
are creating a reality where they're basically being parasites. Right? Sorry for the wind. I'm out here, of course, and all the breeze coming through. But I got to keep the windows open here, and sometimes that wind just comes through. It's so refreshing because it is hot.
No, I
Yeah.
know. I always saw that. The wind blows, and no, and you got little chickens and birds, and I love all the animals you got sometimes.
Yeah. I love when the
But
geckos speak
yeah.
up. They have sometimes they have something to say. They go toque, toque,
Oh, that's the taco. They're called tacos.
tacos.
They go taco, taco, taco.
Yeah.
I have a lot of tacos in my house. They get pretty big. They get up to like half a foot more.
Oh, I've
But
seen
yeah.
there's some big ones out here. We're talking 2 feet long.
Oh my goodness.
I mean they're
Your
around.
tacos get that long?
They
Ooh.
their body is about that big and round.
Oh my god, that's just too much. We don't get them that big here.
Yeah, they
It's too
get.
hot over here, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, even with the nature, have you ever wondered how you're walking down the street and you see a plant there and you go, well, how did that plant get there? It was synchronicity because the bird ate a seed here, then he flew, and then
No.
he did his dropping, and then it grew. I
So
have these plants around my yard that has concrete, and in the cracks, I have these beautiful flowers that come up, and I don't cut them down because they're beautiful, but they're in the strangest spots. So it's like synchronicity, yeah. So synchronicity plays an important part the roles of events. So how you arrive, how me and Dan arrived here in this live session, that is synchronicity.
yeah. Well,
So
so let me kind of apply this to what we're also experiencing with so the large scale planning, right? So I used to call large scale manifestations. So meaning that that's when you have everyone working together, right, on a particular. Now that can be the shadow government. They have all these people working together for a particular goal, but it's parasitic, right? It's not a symbiotic relationship. It's a parasitic. But you can also have a large scale manifestation, large scale planning that we experience, say, with QAnon, when we're seeing things that were laid out over like 2 and 3 years time frames, where we see that it was said 3 years ago that this was going to be happening, and we just go and see that, well, it kind of applied the following year, and it applied a little bit more the next year, and now it really applies. What was it? So that's why I did the first couple days of QAnon back at the end of 2017. The first 3 days, I covered like 35 posts or something like that. It's all means about what's today. That's kind of planning, is to create a synchronicity with everyone that joined into the Q movement, right, for a very positive, non-parasitic reality, right? And they were all taking steps toward it. You know, us doing this show is part of adding to the energy of those steps. Our intention of doing it the next day affects what we're doing today. The shows that we've done in the past affect this moment. It's all coming down into the moment right here. I'm not making any cabal symbols by doing this, so no one send me any notes saying, hey, I saw you doing cabal symbols.
well, no, I
Yeah.
used to have a symbol that I made. It was dolphins, ETs, and I used to love the certain species, and I would make it into a globe and a pyramid, and they thought I was what they call Illuminati or something.
Yeah, yeah. I
And I was going, "This is no, man. No, are you really? You know, they were really
So
questioning me,
sacred geometry,
and I
right?
was,
Sacred
yeah,
geometry has shapes, right? It's got rules and regulations. You can take that sacred geometry and use it for a parasitic plan, or you can take the same geometry and use it for a synchronistic plan, right? A beneficial plan for all. There, this is just, it's just like physics. It's kind of like saying, okay, you're going to use gravity for a bad occurrence or for a good occurrence, right?
well, yeah, it's the same thing with the Nazi symbol actually represents something different. The way you twist it, if you reverse it, it pulls in energy, and if you put it the opposite, it emits energy.
Yeah.
And then you can also fold it into a cross. So there's many things that they took that symbol and they butchered it, and the Buddhists use that symbol. So it's like,
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
talking.
Exactly. You know, the Hindus use it as well. So yeah, no, that's what I mean. The symbols can be co-opted, right? Some people can take over things. I'll give you some other kind of symbols. The Boy Scouts, right? When I
Oh
was
yeah,
young,
yeah.
there is a symbol that was represented by the Boy Scout badge. You had a certain feeling associated with that. That got co-opted, right? The Boy Scouts were attacked by the shadow government, right? The deep
I
state, the
think that's why
cabal.
it shut down. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So,
got
but
shut
that's the
down.
they took it over and they made it mean something bad, right? These type of things where we don't want to basically take what is good and then because someone comes around and says it's bad, that now, oh well, I don't want to be fearful that they may be right. Right? You say
Well,
no.
yeah, yeah.
You have to go by your own intuition, your own discernment of what's really happening there, right?
There's a factor that needs to happen is we all need to respect each one of our each person's individuality and let it stand on its own in order for us to be, you see, we don't become one by making everybody the same.
Right.
We become one by acknowledging our diversity.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to do in this
Well,
climate we're in that they are developing.
so the easy step
By
to
us
get there,
distancing,
the
yeah,
the easy step to get there is to recognize the things that we agree upon, that we're the same, right? That we agree where we agree, right? That's where those are the steps we need to take. If someone comes up and starts talking about the diversity, how you're different, I say, well, let's talk about why we're the same, and that's what we need to focus on. There's always difference. In fact, difference is life. Everything is not the same. Everything is always different. Identical twins are not the same.
no, and there might be, like, I could explain life how it is in one way, and then you could explain it another way, and it both, like we know, it both ends at the same path. It
Yep.
finishes at the same place, but
And that's where
you
we
have
that's
you
where
went
we
this
started this
route.
conversation.
Yeah.
we started, we started this conversation there. But that's where we get back to the same spot, right? Because the reality is that there are patterns, there are things that we can recognize, and by discussing them and being open about them, a lot of times I've known is like in communication, right? Um, that you can say the words, the same English words between different people, but they don't actually represent the same thing to each other, right? So
Yeah.
there is a an aspect of when you tell a story a little bit different each way, you actually get more understanding between the individuals. So having communication is a good thing, because there's no way that words will 100% represent what you're trying to bring across. You have to add the feeling to it, you have to add the nuance, you have to add all of the diversity.
It's what we call the collective. The collective of consciousness, where again we're at the point where you can't focus on one aspect and say that's the whole thing. Like I can't, no one can focus on me and say, well, he's the man, everything, I gotta receive all the information from him. Or Dan is the one, I gotta receive all the information from him. Or Tank, if Tank is not here on the show, so we have to develop an aspect where Tank, Dan, me, and the chat, they all can give their aspect and then show the whole picture. And I think that's what the trustee of the planet has been trying to get everybody to do, to go inside and allow yourself to be expressed. And if you do it with your heart, you're gonna help a lot of people. You're gonna help. There's several aspects that I wanted to talk, which is when you see the suffering in others and you wish to partake in their suffering, you get to understand them. One of the things that we can do in life is not look at all these riots and have hate. We need to look at all those riots and understand the suffering, right, whether it be for a positive or a negative aspect.
Right. Well, we need to
hear. You need to make in your heart the conclusion that will suffice you in a loving fashion. So we can never, in other words, we can't judge the book by its cover.
Yeah, we need to be able to hear everyone and hear the emotion behind the words that they say, right? Because it will mean something much more. Right, so that's why communicating and listening to the people is you know, and so what we see is this great awakening happening is because people are hearing each other, and we're hearing that, you know, there's something wrong within the system, even though we suspected that there was something wrong, you know, for a long time. We just couldn't put a finger on it, but you know. But now, you know, it's being now talked about at a level in which everyone's waking up to, say, the words insurrection, right? It is invasion, right? So there is basically replacing the people in power because of an open, saying the word open society. I don't want to be tied into Soros, but the open country where anyone can come in and join and become a leader, right? It's open to that, but that also means bad actors can come in with nefarious ideas, right? To make people hate their country, hate the other people, you know, hate the corporations, hate this, hate that, hate everything, right? And give a excuse for why they can tear it all down, right? But now we can see who the back actors have been, and now there's proof. And this is now, you know, giving the ability for everyone now, because they're waking up to it, the Great Awakening, that everyone now can take action. Everyone can now take a step towards removing it, right? So we all can be free. So we can all go out and thrive. And that's
yes.
And that's where we're at. We're at the point of really just waking up. Now, there's going to be a lot of turmoil in this, right? Because it's happening. We see it, right? We can look down the river and we can see that there's some ripples and going like this, and say, we're just going to go through it, right? We're just going to go through it, right? But we're going to get to the other end intact and much stronger.
is we just work with your inner self. Go inside yourself, search the deepest part of you, and allow that to be expressed. Because in essence, the best part of you is what's going to come out of this event. It's not that the best part of you needs to come out too, and we can't let ourselves easily get into anger, which is easy. It's easy. We need to stop ourselves and then go the next step of maturing out of that phase. Because if we all want this planet to be a place where we can be in. And I think that we're all on that same page. We're also on the same page where we don't want all the things to happen to the children on the planet. We want them to have their place, which is with their mothers and fathers, not the way they're being corralled up now. So there's many aspects we need to look into ourselves. What can we do? Let's allow synchronicity and walk through this.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I've got I picked up along the way a nice a telescope, right? So I can look out in the distance and see down the river and see what's coming. So long ago, when on this little path we were on, I was saying that Trump is going after communism. When the stuff happened initially with Venezuela, and I said, oh, this is not about Venezuela. This is about communism. This is about China. And there's a major event that just took place about 3 days ago, I think, where Steve Bannon was appearing with this Chinese billionaire that basically they announced a new federation for China, new government of China, right, to throw off the CCP. Let me share my screen with you, right, and let's look a little bit at this.
Okay.
And this just came to me. I thought it might be good to cover this. Let me change this. There we go. All right, so here they are. So Mr. Steve Bannon reads the new Federation State of China Declaration. So look, they're on a boat in New York with a Statue of Liberty over his shoulder, right? And they have this new flag, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people talking about the symbolism of it, but we can look at that a little later. But I'm not going to go through too much of it, just listen to a little bit of it.
English-speaking audience and for the in Beijing. This is the preface. It is the whistleblowers movement that has brought us together in order to realize the rule of law, democracy, and freedom in the new federal state of China. The free Chinese throughout the world and in China have established the Himalaya Supervising Organization. During the past 3 years, Mr. Miles Guo and myself have founded and led the whistleblowers movement that exposed the illegitimacy and the true evil nature of the Chinese Communist Party and its deceptions. The Himalaya Supervising Organization is a voluntary, non-governmental organization with no political affiliations at all. It is recognized by international community and protected by international law, along with the Rule of Law Foundation, the Rule of Law Society. It will serve as a bridge of communications between the new federal state of China and the international communities in the areas of cooperation, defending people and freedom, and protecting the security of assets on the basis of common development and mutual respect among the people of the whole world. Now, the mission of the new federal state of China and the Supervisory Commission is to take down the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is a gangster organization with no legitimacy, funded by the Communist International, which has subverted the legitimate Chinese government in the past. The totalitarian rule in China has caused horrific atrocities against humanity, total disregard for human rights, the destruction of humanity, trampled over democracy, violated the rule of law, dishonored lawful agreements, caused great bloodshed in Hong Kong, and has exported corruption across the entire globe. Recently, it unleashed a biological attack on the free countries of the world, the CCP virus, through their incompetence and their corruption and their cover-up. The COVID-19 virus.
So we can see where this is going, right? So this is a step. So even playing this here, is building more of a foundation for this energy to go out into the reality of the world and to actually remove the Chinese Communist Party from power in China, right? And this is something that if you said a year ago that this was even possible, no one would even think about it, right? And it's no, it's nothing like that can happen, right? But now, with the reality that is unfolding before us, and we can see that everything pulling back from China, the manufacturers leaving China, coming back to the United States or other places around the world, right? That the as I was saying, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP virus, that has been unleashed upon the world has caused, came with a lot of great evil, right? And this is basically now people are being awakened, are now woke to this reality that the Chinese Communist Party is not for the betterment of the world. It's actually the opposite. So anyone that's supporting that agenda within the government, because this is the foundation where the insurrection is money flow is coming from, is from China, right, and from George Soros and from the other bloodline family factions and whatever, however you want to package it. They have an idea of a one world order. Antifa's manual says that's the goal: one world government, one world society where they'll be protected. Of course, they're using fascist techniques to do it, but anyway, so we can see this is unfolding before our eyes.
Amazing. No, they got there's the future. Future is the past, and the past is the future. So we're gonna be full circle. So I've always known that there was gonna be a movement there to work with China to provide some hope for the people.
I have a unique experience that I've got to spend a lot of time in China, back and forth. I made friends there. I made about 20 trips to China over a 18-month period. And this is all for the GCR, but in the meantime, I've made a lot of friends. I got to know the people there. And what I kept looking at was the similarities. Of course I noticed the differences, but I want to focus on where we were the same. We love our children, right? We love good food, right? We love to socialize, right? These are all what makes humanity, care for one another, right? We care for each other's children, we care for, bringing good food, and sitting and enjoying it with one another. I was very much, impressed with how much China has built up. Right, I got to see the empty cities that were built as well. Got a lot of theories as to why they were building them, but
Oh yeah, that's the whole city, unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing what they were building, but they just said it was, well, they're making plans for the future, right? This is where people will be moved into the cities, from the rural areas, right, to bring them into the cities, give them electricity, give them, certain, certain.
I'm hoping we have flying ships by then. We're hovering over.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Well, the flying cities would be good, right?
I'll be honest with you. Every time I look at road being constructed, I say to myself, boy, this is going to be obsolete pretty soon. I give that kind of,
It could be, yeah.
it's part, well, it's a good thing to hope. I give, if anything we give in the show is to give the opportunity people to hope for things.
Yeah.
Hope for your,
Well, this is,
hope that you can have a car if you need one. Hope that you have a place to stay if you don't have one.
well, this,
Hope that your child can come back with you if it's been taken. Hope is a factor, and hope does miracles. And I think miracles is another important thing
yep,
that we can't forget about.
yeah.
This is a miracle you're here, Dan, and a miracle I'm here. I've had many illness. Just put it to you this way. It's very hard for me to die, and when I do go into, no, I no anesthesia works for me. So anything I do in the hospital or anything without anesthesia, I'm a living miracle. And I tell you what, when it's your time to meet your maker, it'll be that time. If not, keep yourself busy. Trust me.
Yeah, that's it. Keep
When
yourself
your
busy.
time is up, don't be sick. I know, because I know a lot of people.
Well, this is why I want to show this one video of what's happening with this new government of China, right? Is really to show that anything can happen, right? In the direction that we're headed, how positive things are actually coming about. I mean, who could have thought about this a year ago, that this would be happening right now, right? And this means a lot what's going on in Hong Kong, right? It means a lot what's going on in Taiwan. It means a lot what's. Oh, and by the way, this federation, new Federation of China, they actually spoke about the Tibetan area, about Hong Kong, and about Taiwan as all being independent, right? You know,
Oh, yeah.
independent as almost like a state, right? But
Yeah.
autonomous to one another, but in together, still have a togetherness. So they considered that right now as what to do is really to be together under this federation, but without communism. And that
They suffered a lot.
oh yeah,
They suffered a
amazing.
lot. If you go watch
This cabal,
movie Dalai Lama, yeah.
this cabal has devastated every people that they get involved with. They don't care. They have no care. In fact, that is part of their religion, is not to care. One of their sacrifices in their rituals is to kill a baby named Care. Right? To show how much
they embellish it.
they embellish it. It's part of what they do. So they can't possibly care if they end up killing hundreds of millions of people. Hundreds of millions of people. So that's what happens. Now, we don't know if it's 100 million, or it was 120 million, or it was 80 million people that died.
In 1952,
Yeah.
it was registered 14 million monks died. These are people that couldn't even kill a fly.
Because it was
Hovering
religion.
over them.
Right,
It was ritually not, you can't do that. So it's like, these people couldn't, they walk where they're stepping so they don't kill a bug.
Yeah.
So imagine that, these people that were so harmless, it was like that. It was like killing a child. For me, they killed 14 million children. These are people that, and it brings, I get very emotional. It brings tears to me when I think about it. And we talk about also the Holocaust.
Same thing.
Has anybody watched? It might have, parts of it might have been staged, and there's probably ET wars in between there. But
Yeah.
if you go look at the core thing, and Schindler's List, where there was just one German decided to do One person, not 100. This is why I tell you, one person could change the outcome of the whole planet if it was necessary.
Yep.
Because of synchronicity.
Yep.
He was there at the right moment, at the right place, and he was there and he managed to do all that he did. So there were many that were saved, but there were many that were killed. So that Holocaust is terrible. And I'm part of that Holocaust. I had the descendancy from it, from that in Spain. So it's probably one of the diasporas, but my name has connections to the Jewish diaspora in those times. So the running away of people from places to place. This is nothing new. What's happening in China? It's just that we're the ones that are seeing it now. Let's say not the baby boomers, but the Generation X. They're looking at this and saying, "Okay, how do we make of this?" So you have to Generation X, which is this generation we have now, they're exposed to things that no one has been exposed to ever.
Right.
Think about it. I mean, we're talking these end time things that are happening that has never happened before. The ninth cycle ended all the cycles, and we're in this next cycle is a benevolent cycle, and it's the terminating one for the planet. This planet is on its way to ascension, and
Yep.
we need to step up to the plate.
And
And
we are.
allow-
We are stepping up, and everyone is seeing it, right? So that's the major. Is it's becoming their reality as they become woke, right? As they see what has been happening, and they see these other things happening. Like I said, like this thing happening with China, where they're focusing on a new reality for China. That will happen. That will happen. You can see it.
That's it. You said something very important. We need to project what we want of our future. How do you want this planet to be? Are you just going to sit there and let everything happen? I'll tell you what. You got to be like Johnny Appleseed. How come there's so many, the story about Johnny Appleseed, right? He planted and planted, but he never got any of the fruit. Who got the fruit afterwards? The people that came after him. They reaped and harvested the apples. So we are in that stage of this reality. We are planting the seeds, and we might not see the harvest fully, many of them, because we're old. But the new generations, they're gonna harvest all that, and
Yep.
that's what we have to do. We gotta be the Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, we're planting the seeds, right? We take a step and plant a seed, take a step, plant a seed, take a step, plant a seed. And behind us, we have a trail of trees, and this is where we're creating the reality, right? This is it. We're weaving that reality into being at such a phenomenal rate, right? That it's going to be miraculous. It is miraculous, as so much has already happened. I know if you focus on the news, they have a tendency to just keep showing the negative side of what's going on, right? But you got to step back and keep it in perspective. Is that we're winning because this is the result of us taking the steps to expose all of that's happening on this planet. So
If you're watching TV and you watch the news, you're gonna be able to go, okay, that's not part of me, and just dump it out of your reality. You don't need to. And if you're in your heart, anything that's thrown at you, you're gonna filter it through it. So we are doing that already. Just understand that the progressive nature of this reality requires you to imagine how you want this world to be for all of us.
yeah.
All
Well,
of us. Imagine us all together.
You're right.
Imagine how we can be one in a purpose, not necessarily one in form and shape. Many diversity, tall, short, long, different languages. I imagine a future which I seen in the movie, which I loved it so much, that aspect, where we're gonna have a language that's mixed. It's gonna be ciao, and then it's gonna say como está, and then you're gonna say cheche, and then you're gonna say como allez-vous. You're gonna mix, all the languages are gonna mix and become a general where people are going to know and communicate in this aspect where language are no longer a barrier. Because that's what's happening now. Languages are barriers. Okay, he's Chinese, he's German, he's French, but in the future is where those things are going to mix.
All right. Well,
it's going to be like a mulatto.
Let me add something here, because that's one of my interesting little aspects. I've been around the world. Right, I spent a lot of time in India, for example. I spent a lot of time now in China and the Philippines. The one thing that has been the most difficult for me is language. I mean, a lot of things I take to it so quickly, and I'm able to adapt and all. But one thing, language, always difficult for me from the very beginning. Even remember, I took Spanish class, I took German class, I took French. All of these, I could go through it, but it just wouldn't gel. It wouldn't go. I used to say the only language I was really good with was mathematics. Right. And
so if you could have something where these languages all mix and everybody just talks it, that's going to solve the problem of the languages. There's no barrier.
Yeah.
We are creating a barrier with the languages.
Well, what I was able to do though is learn that I can still communicate. Right.
Remember the reason why languages was created according to the Bible. The Tower of Babel. Everybody was all what? Synchronistic together. Mm-hmm. Focus. Build the tower. Let's get it high. Let's reach the Anunnaki God. What happened? Well, man, these guys are too organized. Let's go ahead and change and make everybody. So what was the real purpose of language?
To confuse the people as they confuse the languages, yes. So to keep people divided.
Exactly, divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So I envision a future where the languages are going to go really they're going to be so mixed up. You're not going to know what is French, German, or English, or Spanish, or Swahili.
Yeah.
For the matter, because everybody's you're gonna. I loved it in the movie because they did it in the movie. He spoke like 4 languages all at once, and he was having a conversation on the phone, and I was going, "Wow, that impacted me." So I think we're gonna. I foresee that we're going to undo the Tower of Babel.
Well, that'd be good for me. Yeah. I'd be happy with that. Hey, let's wind this down a little because we're just over an hour, right? And I just want to.
I was trying to figure out what time it was. Yeah.
That's okay. No, we can go on a over a little bit. It's all right.
Good. We got an hour. Yeah, that's good.
But I do want to cover one.
On any aspect.
Yeah, that is. I keep pushing people to go see Parler, right? So it's a Parler. Here's and my Parler is now up to 72 followers every day. I'm gaining, again like another 10 people yesterday. I'm posting my videos here, but I'm also following people. So wherever there are people that are coming into this Parler, and they're following me, I follow them. And I've already followed people. So I keep following people. And if you post, then that's when you get noticed, right? And so the people get to see that I'm posting here. And this and I tell everyone, Dan Bongino is the one that brought this to my notice, right? And he has 200,000. He just crossed like 200,000 subscribers or followers here in Parler. That means it's big enough to where everyone can have 200,000 subscribers. This will far, blow past anything on the Twitter since we've been shadow banned. Why are we supporting it? Yes, we have to go there because that's where all the where people are posting and we're getting stuff and we're using it. But we may be cut off. We were told in QAnon that we could be cut off from Twitter. Trump is probably going to be eliminated from Twitter. And when these things happen, they're going to do that across the board to everyone. You're already identified. You could be posting away all you want, but no one will see it, right? So we've got to be over here. We've got, and this is where I'm putting my effort to show that this is what I want to add people over here. So please come over here and join me. We're 73 followers. My link for this is right down below in the description of this video. Please join me there. And as soon as we start getting to where the United News channel is going to be putting up videos, I'll be posting the videos over there. Even though I'm just closing on 14,000 subscribers here on YouTube, it doesn't make sense to keep relying on it, right? Because of everything we know. The war is not over, right? We're just now, like the last week, going on the offense. Bringing all those high-level people into the Senate for testimony under oath, right? Getting the court, getting General Flynn just on the verge of getting out of this court case. Roger Stone, the same thing. All of these things are coming about where we're just now ready to now go on the offense, right? All of this has been sitting. Yeah, so
it's a moment to be in life. It's an exciting time.
Yeah. But I want to thank you, Lazaro, for coming on. I thank you for all of the energy.
Thank the audience for being patient with me and Dan. And we just wanted to step out of the notch of everything that's being done all the time. It's good to separate us. Want to talk about other things.
Yeah. So this is all part of it, manifesting, talking about how reality happens. Stuff happens, and we got to kind of have an idea how it comes about, right? Because a lot of people don't know, right? And what we search for is always, answers. And if we can provide some answers in a kind of straightforward way that is kind of bring people to start making the steps with us, so we come together and make this all work. That's what we're doing. So this is all part of it. I appreciate you for everything that you've been doing.
Thank you. And the audience for being here.
Yeah, and we'll be back tomorrow. So goodbye, everyone, and
bye-bye.
Have a blessed.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Sweet awakening.